And it is once again that time of the week here on Thursday where we do Geek Speak. And just to start things off, we'll do some introductions. My name is Phelan. I work with Pip at Seymour Digital Media, where we focus on search engine marketing.
And I am Rena Little from Littleworks Indie Media, and we are a digital marketing boutique in Vancouver.
Awesome. And today we are going to be talking about segmenting. And so, what is it? How to get started with it? And you you want to delve in a little bit more at the definition, and then we'll go through some examples as well.
Sure. So, segmenting is basically organizing your client list, or, well, actually, yes, a client list or a list of people according to topics or ways to organize them. It could be by geography, it could be by interest, it could be by event that you met them at, or that they attended your event. Any kind of, you can organize your list in any kind of ways, and most of the time you're going to choose multiple ways. And the way that I like to think about segmenting, if any of you have done Facebook ads, segmenting is kind of like organizing your buckets. And so what that your interest buckets in advertising. So what you want to do is think about who your target is, um, how you're getting your people, and what you're going to want to, what kind of information you're going to want to send them, or how do you want to filter them to know which people to send specific messaging to. So that's why you segment them according to topic. So, for example, if you are going to, if you've recently done an introduction class on something that you're offering, and then you're going to create an intermediary class or an advanced class, then you might want to actually send information only to the people who qualify for your intermediate class, and those will be the people that have already done your beginner class. So that's the easiest way to think about it. But you can also do it differently. If you're going to have a live class in Vancouver, then maybe you want to only target people who are in Vancouver or in the Vancouver area, and not send them a whole bunch of information, and not send that information to a whole bunch of people who will not be interested, because then they get annoyed at their inbox and unsubscribe because they feel like your content is not actually directed at them. So segmenting does a few things. It keeps your list accurate and engaged, because you're actually thinking about the content in a more granular way and sending people just those specific messages that are appropriate for them based on those segmentation segments that you've created. So they're like little vertical segments, is how I think about them when I visualize them. Do you have anything to add, Phelan? I just went on a
Yeah.
little
No, it was great. It was great. No, that's why I was like, oh, I'll just wait until the end of that. But no, that was really good. The other way that I like to think of it, just kind of building, is the other one is also like thinking about it like the marketing funnel, right? Like you're making
Yes,
your messaging match the person when they're at that stage. Because there's no point in
that's right.
going with the buy my new product when they don't even know they have the problem, right? You want to make sure
That
that
is
you're reaching
correct.
people with the right messaging at the right time. And it also has to do with the internet is a very noisy place. And because everyone's online, you need to find exactly the right message for exactly the right person, because that will cut through the noise and they'll feel like you are speaking directly to them, and that will take them, give them the idea that they should take the next step, that they should, oh, this person really understands me, because you want that messaging to resonate with the person at that little moment with that segment of their information.
That's right. So matching your, not segmenting people is step one. Knowing your avatars at the different stages in your funnel is number two. And then matching that messaging up with those avatars is going to be gold. And so that's why my beginner course and intermediary course is a good example, because it
Yeah.
matches the avatar with the messaging, and that's going to save you. Yes. So let's talk about where we can segment, because most people think of segmenting on email lists, which is the obvious place to do it. I
Yeah.
think of it also as part of my process in organizing my ads. So that's another place to think about it. But Phelan, where else can we do segmenting other than email lists?
So, other places that we can do segmenting that you could do retargeting as well. So in Google Analytics, these
Right.
are people
Yeah.
that went to specific pages. These can be, so you're finding more granular detail people, and you can also exclude certain people because there's no point in sending ads to people, provided, of course, you have a sufficient audience to do retargeting because, there's limits of like you need X number of people. But say you have that many people, there's no reason why you shouldn't go to everyone that made it to the product page but didn't make it to checkout. That's a
Yeah.
great segment of people because these are people that didn't convert. Okay, I need to do more ads, reaching out to them, talking about maybe testimonials. You need to break down a small segment of people that you were expecting in the journey that they were going to take that they stopped off there in the funnel. So okay, we need to do something with these people, and so
That's right.
Google. Yeah, so Google Ads is a really good one. Google Analytics because you can set up retargeting lists in there. We were also one other one that we were talking about is quizzes is one that's
Yeah.
really super useful, and especially we've been testing out a quizzes inside of Shopify because customers, even if like they get counted as a customer, you can add tags to them, and then that can
Oh,
get
really?
exported out to your email list. And so if they come out of the quiz being tagged with, oh, they answered that they spend 4 hours standing and 4 hours sitting at their office. Okay, I want to send them this specific email or messaging. And so that's a way that you can find like literally individual people and making sure they're getting the right message as well.
That's right. So, one of the best examples of quizzes that you'll see out there that are all over almost every single website in this industry that I've seen is astrology people. Like if you
Hmm.
go to an astrology site, then
Yeah.
you're going to put your information in, your quiz stuff in. The other ones are the personality style, um, the ones that determine your personality and who you're going to
Yeah.
get along with better, or if you're in a leadership position, how you can manage those people better. All those kinds of sites always have those quizzes, and at the end, they require your email address. They're the most um, irritating at the same time because you get to the end, you want to find out your thing, and then you get to the end and you have to put your email in. That's maybe not the best example. There are some really good, sophisticated ones. I just wanted to give a better example of one. Well, I think it's better. Obviously, I did it, so I think it's better. But it actually has to do with a different kind of industry completely, and it's for an HVAC company. They do HVAC and kitchens and things like that. And what they were finding is that people were constantly calling them to find out what kind of permits that they needed, and we used
Oh.
that permitting system as like the Vancouver City permit system as a way to create a funnel. So basically, there are I think there ended up being five different conclusions, and we funneled the people through that. And so it actually disqualified people from being good clients, because that's what this business owner was trying to avoid. He didn't want to get all the calls to tell the people which permit they needed or if they even needed a permit, because that's not really his job. But he was getting a lot of calls, so we created this quiz that sort of removed the one layer, gave people so all the people that could just go ahead and do all their upgrades themselves, they could DIY it with no permit. They would get that information. The other funnel was, yes, you need a permit, and this is where you can get your permit. This one was, you can just get your contractor to get the permit. And then the final one was, you should be calling us, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't exactly like that, worded exactly like that, but that was a really good way of disqualifying or pre qualifying good clients, good
Yeah.
leads, basically. So it doesn't have to be cheesy just to collect email addresses and start sending people on your drip campaigns. It can be even more specific, as like what you were talking about in terms of the retargeting the Shopify clients or the WooCommerce clients, whichever you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, it's it can be as sophisticated as that. It doesn't have to be cheesy.
Yeah, yeah, it
It's
definitely you can make it as detailed, but I really like that part of it when you're talking about disqualifying people, especially if
yeah,
you've got a decent and you're spending more time on the phone with people who actually would it would make sense for you to be on the phone with them. And if it's
yeah,
kind of rote responses that you're just going to be answering them and it's not really nuanced, like if
yes,
the plumber needed to actually go make a quote, well, he would need to show up there in person. But there's a bunch of details that he would need before to actually make it. Is it worth it for me to even show up? Another
that's right.
example that's closer to our industry was I remember hearing a conversation with Jason Swank, who does Agency Masterclass podcast, Smart Agency Masterclass. He's
Yeah,
and he so he had a quiz on his where basically the filter it either if you had what was your revenue, what was your employee amount, what are your years of experience, and based on those he would either offer one-on-one coaching, you would offer the
right,
next tier down mastermind, so it's a little less
right.
expensive because it's a group, or you would do the recorded classes, or and if
Yeah.
not, he had a set of PDFs. So
So
depending on which marker they met, then they would be
yeah.
routed there.
That's really great because what that does is it completely removes the need for a discovery call, which I think is what
Yeah.
most people are doing, or a lot of people start out with a discovery call. So that in your sales process, that can actually alleviate a lot of time.
Yes, exactly. And it's simple answers that, it takes the person on the other end barely has to think about their answers. They pretty much know how
Yeah,
much their staff is, how much their revenue is in a ballpark. Like you want to make it that you're getting valuable information that are very limited responses that like there's not much nuance. You either know you're this or you know you're that, and then you're just making it filtering out accordingly. So that way
right.
it's again, it saves people a lot of time. The other one that's really good is the quiz that we were using in Shopify actually is a product recommendation quiz app. So
All
at the
right.
end, yeah, so that's also another really good way is that you can tailor it because like this one we were working with was ergonomic chairs. Well, there's different professions that need different chairs, right? So the one I'm sitting in
Right.
is more for office workers, whereas there's an armless one with a small back, which is for doctors. So those bits of
All right.
information yeah, like are valuable, and you can filter out a lot of finding people like, oh, I know that I need an ergonomic chair, but based on my job and how many hours I'm sitting and weight and height and all that good stuff, I need to be seeing these ones. And so that's a way that you can let people, they get a personalized experience. Again, we're going back to you want to give people some choices, but not too many. It's finding that right balance, but you want to
Yeah,
filter down and you want to get like, oh, hey, you people, you based on your answers, you really should get this one, and because that's
that's
what you would
right.
be doing with the salesperson on a floor of a store or something like that.
Yeah. So one thing that this brings up for me as thinking about my clients,
Yeah,
is that I think that some people might start to feel overwhelmed with this idea that you're having to send out so many messages to so many different segments. And that
yeah,
just seems like, okay, I've gone from setting up one email to setting up 10 emails to satisfy everything to make it super niche. But that's not actually the case. So, one thing that you can do in a lot of email platforms, as soon as you level up from the free version, is you can actually create what's called dynamic content, where one part of the email might be exactly the same for everyone, and then another part of the email might have specific content to satisfy specific segment needs. So, Phelan, you were telling me that there's an opportunity to do that on a website, and I'm super excited to hear about that.
yeah. So it was one that I've been playing around with. I'm going to be experimenting with it more, but it is the fourth component to Google's marketing platform. So you have your Google Analytics that does a lot of your measuring. You've got your tag manager for deploying those tags and like at the right time at the right place. You have Data Studio for reporting, so what's going on, and the fourth one that they built is called Google Optimize. And so what that does is, it started out as a regular A/B testing tool or multivariant, right? So it gives you a little window to your own website, and you can change a headline. So 50% of all traffic is going to see this new headline versus the other. But then there is a fourth tab, or when you go to create your experiences, is what they're called on the platform. It's called personalization. And that's where it gets really neat of the different segments of what you can actually optimize for.
Awesome.
And yeah, so you could do it like we said, device. So you could do it like if they're
Right.
on a desktop,
Right.
on a phone, different wording at different times. You can also one thing to also bear in mind. I would make small changes with Google Optimize. I tried to make a big change with it once of like moving a form, and it was Google Optimize was like, this is not how this platform is used. Like it's expecting you're like making changes in the text is a really that is a optimal use case is changing your messaging. And
So,
so, oh, go ahead.
sorry. So, are you telling me that you can make changes or that you can make dynamic content? I'm getting confused a little bit.
Oh, okay. So, say you have your regular landing page
Yeah.
that you have, and so
Yeah.
what you will do is you can either base it on an ad or even a UTM parameter. So
Oh, I
basically,
see.
if you put this UTM parameter in an email and it says that I'm going to say like so say you're go back to the ergonomics, maybe
So,
one.
can I just can I just or interrupt? For those people who don't know, a UTM parameter
Oh yeah,
is a little tag that you add to your ad so that you give it some description so that you can find the information on Google Analytics and do a few other things. But so
yeah.
it's basically a marker to remind you which ad it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you could do it based on the source and the medium. So really good for
Yeah.
Facebook ads. Super important because Facebook ads doesn't tell you that it's an ad that sent that traffic. You have to tell it that that was the case. So that's a really good one.
Yes.
Is making the medium be CPC. Um, and but these are really powerful. You can also put them on organic posts as well, and then that's why people use URL shorteners is to hide all those extra UTM parameters they have going behind
All
it.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so you could do lots of interesting tracking. Maybe you're pairing it like with social campaigns with paid campaigns, and you need to distinguish which part of it is. So really
So
powerful stuff
I
there.
almost think that we should probably do another topic on tracking. I think that this tracking notion is really integral to a lot of different things. So I'm just going to make a
Yeah.
note here. And then
Yes.
let's get back to your dynamic content. I want to like
For sure.
keep us on topic because there's not that much time left and
Yeah, yeah, I could feel us
this
going
is
down the
my
rabbit
circle.
hole, and it was
Yeah,
one of those
exactly.
like, yeah, we'll have to pull ourselves back a little bit. And so, yeah, it's definitely one. Let's put a marker in that because I do. There's definitely a lot to discuss, especially with the future changes with tracking and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
going forward, so what happens is, say you have two emails that you're sending to. One email is to the doctors, and then one email is to the dentist. So they would to make sure that you're personalizing it. The one email is going to mention, like you said, you change the email text to one says doctors, the other one says dentist. Well, then you could put in the UTM parameter that this is the dentist email and this one's the doctor email. So when they click on the link, the page will
Oh.
change. It says doctors like yourself all agree that this is the best thing ever. And then I'm
Oh, no,
just
that's
spit bubble.
interesting. So
Yeah,
does there have to be some kind of matching to traffic? And that's what you're saying. So the tracking is important so you can match the traffic
yeah,
to the right landing page. I see, and that is dynamic content. So
yeah,
dynamic content again, just to make sure that everyone's super clear, is it means that the same page will change content depending on who's landing there. So it's
yeah.
not like you're creating a whole pile of pages. It just means it's dynamic. It changes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's
And
super exciting.
yeah, it's definitely one that I'm looking to explore. And of course, because it is a Google product, the Google Ads component
Yeah.
it's very well built out. Like they can do it
Oh
based on
boy.
an ad group, a campaign, an account.
Right.
So you can get very granular and really targeted with that, which is it's really cool that you can do that part. Of course, yeah, Google's going to be optimizing it for their own platform, but there's
Yeah.
based on, but that doesn't mean we can't exclude
Yeah.
that with
We could do it with Facebook, and you could probably
yeah,
do it with email.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got 6 people watching. I'm wondering if anyone is already doing segmenting on their campaigns and dynamic content. I would love to hear that in the comments. And if so, what are
For
you
sure.
using? What are the platforms? And then, are there any questions? I don't see the questions over here. So, Phelan, have we
I
got any questions?
I have not
Usually we
seen
get
any
something.
myself, other than right
Okay,
at the
that's okay.
start, someone asked, "How do we do segmenting?" And you pretty much answered it like as you
Right, right,
asked it
right.
as soon as they had typed it out. So it
Excellent.
was kind of
Excellent.
yeah.
Okay, so basically, okay, so I'm super excited. So this is a WordPress plugin that you're telling me about. Is that right?
Well, you would install it through Tag Manager. That's the
I
best
see.
use case. It's
Okay.
just a little tag that gets fired, and then you set it off on every page like you would Google Analytics. And then what you do is you target a specific page on your website and say, "Hey, I want to make this." And again, you could even just do a regular A/B test, but you can also do these much more granular ones. So it's really
Yeah.
powerful that way. I know, I think currently you can have up to 10 changes that you're allowed to make, like 10 experiments
Okay.
going at one time.
Right. That's excellent because then
Yeah.
you can actually get the information that you need a lot faster. The only thing that I could see this interfering with is I would still recommend testing landing pages before you get into dynamic content. Because
Oh,
if you've
yeah.
got some kind of layout issue or some kind of messaging issue, you want to know that beforehand before you get
Yes.
into all this. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard sometimes to tell why things aren't working. um, I mean, how do you test dynamic content? Do you have any that should be another topic too. Let's put that on the thing here.
Yeah,
Uh,
though I would like to briefly like just expand on what you said
yeah,
because it is very important that I should make this clear that this is your next level. So say your ads are working, you are getting good conversions, you are getting like you
right.
need to have your
Yes.
basic funnel working, and then now you're going, well, now that my funnel's working, I know this is, can I get it a little better? Can I, drive down my costs for my ads? And a good way to do that is warmer audiences, better targeted audiences. And so this is going to help you with making sure that messaging stays consistent through
Right.
your campaigns. Definitely do not jump straight to this. I cannot stress that enough.
Yes.
This
Yes.
don't get
I think
distracted
that's
by
good
this shiny
advice.
thing. Focus
Yes.
on the fundamentals.
That's right. That's right. First you have to learn how to crawl.
Yeah, or it's you don't shove water down a broken funnel. Like there's no point in doing
Yeah.
that. You need to make sure the funnel's working correctly. Then you
Yeah.
can start like making adjustments, tweaking because what did someone say? I heard it about A/B testing. Is like don't A/B test when you don't even know that A works. Like there's no point in
That is true. That is
yeah.
true. That
So
is true.
yeah, so that's definitely one where I definitely I just wanted to make sure that people got that part, and which is very important. Thanks for the reminder on that.
Yeah, okay, so I've got actually it's really interesting. Every time we do one of these lives, it's like 4 or 5 other topics come out of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, we never run out of topics. But if you do have a topic that you'd like us to cover, please feel free to leave that in the comments also. We like to know what it is that you're struggling with so that we can better help you. And for those of you that are watching on a restream that's going out on another place, we are actually in Facebook group called Cyberpunk Geek Marketing Mixer. Please join us there, and that's where we will look at the comments everywhere, but basically that's where we're trying to gather people if you're interested in seeing these on a weekly basis.
for sure. Yeah,
All right. And okay, so are there any last minute thoughts? I just realized we actually have a few more minutes than I thought.
yeah, definitely. So some of the other things that you can do with the targeting in the so I just wanted to cover some of the different ones. We can do your Google Ads and all the breakdown there. We covered the UTM. Devices, so we covered that. Behavior, so are these people new or are they returning? Or are they coming from a specific source? So maybe you have influencer campaigns set up and they're sending it from a specific URL. You can do targeting
Right.
off of that.
Oh my
We have
goodness. Can
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
interrupt and talk about influencer marketing? There's a really good place. that online that does called Social Nature, and they ask people to review products and give feedback to companies. And I'm part of that. I love doing that. But what I really wasn't expecting is I went yesterday to Whole Foods to pick up my product, and the whole shelf was empty from all of the coupons that they sent out for a free product. Isn't that
Oh
funny?
wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I wasn't really
Yeah,
expecting that. So they must have really targeted Vancouver as an area in particular, and Whole Foods was out, completely out, empty shelf. Never seen that before.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. I'd like to know the story behind that, like what had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's crazy that. Well, that also leads into another targeting you could do for the Google Optimize, which is geography.
Yes.
Specific countries. They're saying cities, metro regions, or counties. You can target them, and then they got some really advanced ones that I like. Search queries. You can change it so if they search a specific thing on your website, you can
Oh,
change.
that's excellent.
Yeah,
That's really excellent. That could be super useful.
yeah. It's definitely one that would be extremely interesting to see how
Yeah.
you could utilize it to people
That's
typing in specific things.
yeah, that's like almost like finding a warm audience without doing or finding a warm audience that you didn't create yourself.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
exactly. It's
that's
or
really
it's or like the Google calls them in marketing audiences. So basically, they are people that have typed into Google about related subjects, or so that makes it warm because they Google knows that this person's literally typed this into Google. They don't have to
yeah.
guess or anything like that.
Yeah, and generally by the time you're in Google doing a search, you've already identified you have a problem. You've
Yeah,
sometimes have identified what a possible solution is to that problem, and you're in the research phase. So it's awesome to get people at that spot. I didn't know that. Yay, I'm
yeah,
very
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting of just ways you can target people like that, and because it makes sense that these are all things that are pretty easily measurable with a little bit of code of just like what
Yeah.
is the URL? Oh, it has this word. Oh, we better change it to this. The other one that's interesting is they have activation event, which is I don't know enough about it. I wouldn't play with it too much, but it's interesting because they have page load. So when the page loads, that's when
Right.
they do the scan, or is there an event? So they click a certain button, and then from there we should actually scan for the Google Optimize. So there's interesting details that they, again, super. This is super advanced, but the way it ties into the rest of the Google ecosystem, or even you could use it tangentially with other parts of your Google system or your own marketing, it's really powerful stuff. And again, it's free to get started, so there's no real downside for yourself.
Yeah, I'm thinking things like video views on Facebook. You could probably retarget because you can actually set up an ad that will retarget to video views, and then you could actually send them to a particular page
Yeah,
base that content on a second half of whatever that video was.
yeah,
That
yeah. That makes
this
yeah. Because you could
yeah
change whole paragraphs of text to be like,
yeah
other points that they might not have seen, might not have heard because they only watched 50% rather than 100%, and so
right
because of that, you can create new audiences, new landing pages that are more targeted to them, and making sure that they get the full message.
right
And
right
yeah,
right.
so it's definitely super exciting. And also, this pairs well with Microsoft Clarity, which does heat mapping. So you can actually see
Right.
people based on, seeing people how they interact with the changes that you're making on the website. Then you get
Yeah.
recordings and heat maps and kind of see, like, oh, hey, maybe this is, this didn't work as a message. They got kind of confused and they backed out right away, or this worked out really well. They scanned all the way to the bottom and you know filled in the form or whatever the action you want on that page is. But it's definitely one that can help you extend. Yeah, just get more out of your pages that that you've got different niches that you're working with or different audiences, and you might not need to make a whole new landing page. You just need to make a small
Right.
change, or
Yes.
you want it to
Yeah.
be. Yeah, there's lots of ways that we can look at this where it's not just about A/B testing per se, but it's also making sure that messaging fits the funnel and we're catching people at all the right moments.
Right. Right. Okay. So, awesome. That's great. I can't tell you how excited I am about the Google one, that Google change. That's going to really shift the way that I think about organizing my campaigns. In fact,
Yeah,
I'm going to go and adjust all of my campaigns now because
yeah,
that's going to be great. I hopefully it'll make life easier. Um,
yeah. I suspect that it's going to make our life a lot better, and also because it's a no code tool. So it's like it's just
yeah.
a little drag and drop. So it's super easy for any marketer to get started on changing the bits of text. Like I said, small changes only on the website. I tried to make big changes, and they were very unhappy with me trying to move like whole
Yeah.
parts of the web page around, and it was just not having any of that. Um,
That's good to
but
know. We will learn
yeah,
from your mistakes.
yeah, I'm happy to be the guinea pig for that. But that is us. We are coming up to time.
So what is
So
next week?
next week, I believe it is what in the world of
Oh, yes, that's
marketing.
right.
Yes,
Right
it
on.
is. And so that just leaves me to say that my name is Phelan. I'm with Pip at Seymour Digital Media, focusing on search engine marketing.
And I'm Rena at Littleworks Indie Media.
All right.
And
Thanks.
we are
Have,
out. Have a good
yeah, bye.
day. Have a good week. We'll see you next
Yeah,
week. Well, I'll see you
yeah,
tomorrow if you're coming to happy hour.
for sure.